Now, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love the cinema. And the reason I do is because it takes me from my reality and it allows me to forget whatever I'm dealing with for a couple of hours. And there's one film that I absolutely love, and it's called 8 Mile. It's the story of Eminem's life, the rapper. Now, I know he's not as popular anymore, but the story does actually really help us, and there's one key thing that I want to take away from it. Eminem's life is pretty tough, and he grows up in a rough estate just outside of Detroit in a trailer park. And he lives with his mum and his daughter. Eminem's got some fantastic friends, and they quickly realise how good he is at rapping. And so they do what all good friends do, and they push him forward to perform his raps. And so they enter him into an underground rap battle. Eminem goes forward, and in the first round he comes up against the current underground rap battle champion of Detroit. And the current champion goes first. And he takes the mic and he raps about Eminem's life. And he slates him. And then the mic gets passed to Eminem. When it's his turn to rap about the guy, the words don't come out. And in the underground rap battle world, it's called choking. And it means that he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking now. Everybody's choking. I'm not going to rap anymore. That is the only time, I promise. So he drops the mic and he runs off stage. And the story goes from bad to worse. Not only is he the joke of the underground rap battle scene across the whole of Detroit, but the music producer that's promised him an album ends up getting with Eminem's girlfriend, and she cheats on him, and it's an absolute nightmare. And Eminem's mum is in a really difficult relationship with a guy who's using his power over her. Eminem's friends, one of them gets a gun. And so as he's putting the gun away to hide it, he ends up shooting himself in the leg. Eminem's life goes from bad to worse. And do you know what Eminem's friends do in that moment? They push him forward and enter him back into the underground rap battle. And he plucks up enough courage to step on stage, and he gets through the early rounds. And then he gets to the final of the underground rap battle. And yet, you guessed it, he comes up against the guy who destroyed him last time. He comes up against the current 2-time reigning champion of the Detroit underground rap battle scene. And Eminem decides to go first. But what Eminem does in that moment is he's holding the mic, is he owns his own story. And he says, yeah, I am raising my daughter in a trailer park, but it's the best that I can do for her in this moment. And so I'm going to raise her with the right principles and do the right thing. He goes on to say, yeah, my girlfriend did cheat on me with a music producer who happens to be your best friend. But you know what? I'm going to keep trying. And says, yeah, my friend did shoot himself in the leg, and he is ditzy, and he is a nightmare sometimes, but I love my friends and I'm not going to change them for anything. And Eminem finishes his rap, hands it over to the current underground rap battle champion of Detroit. And you never guess what happens? He chokes. He chokes because he cannot get the words out. Why? Because Eminem has made anything that he says about him powerless. And the guy drops the mic, runs off stage, and Eminem wins. Eminem in that moment owns his story. And so how do we live life day to day owning our story? Well, as a Christian, I believe that we were created for a purpose, and that our story and God's story are interlinked at every single aspect of our lives. God loves us, He cares for us, and He sent His Son to die on the cross so that we could live in relationship with Him again. And so for us, our story is interlinked to God's story. When it comes to owning who we are, we have to understand who Jesus is. And He says that we're loved, we're precious, and that we're worth dying for. Eminem owned who he was, and the words that people spoke over him became powerless. And in the same way, my hope is that when we own who we are and we own our story, but also remembering to own God's story through that, it doesn't become about who I am, it becomes about who He is. So young people, what would it look like today for you to own your story and to own what Jesus says about you?